Hey, how are you? This is William Cunningham of My Hope in Marriage. I hope you're having a great day or a great evening. My Hope in Marriage online is at www.myhopeinmarriage.com. And there you'll find resources that will, I hope, would help you to forge a happy and fulfilling marriage. Now, My Hope in Marriage is from a man's perspective because that's the perspective I know. So I speak mostly from a man's perspective, but please understand that there is a separate, an opposite, well, not necessarily opposite, but a woman's perspective, the wife's perspective. Okay? All right. So the things that I apply, in principle, they go both ways, even though the details of them may be different because men and women think about things differently. Okay? All right. Now, last week, or my last video, I talked about the stumbling blocks. The stumbling blocks in your marriage. All right. Now, these stumbling blocks they usually cause when you neglect your spouse. It's as simple as that. You neglect your spouse over a period of time. They may find themselves, or they may decide, because it's always a decision. Nobody puts a gun to your head and say, cheat on your wife. It's a decision from a corrupt, sick. The Bible says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. So you're sick, and you may come to a situation where you decide to do something that you know is wrong, but at that moment it seems okay. That's just the way we think. That's why we sin. It seems okay. We're not hurting anybody. Matter of fact, if I go have sex with this other woman besides my wife, I'm going to be helping my marriage because my wife isn't giving it to me, so I might as well get it from her. That way I can go home with a smile on my face and be okay. And vice versa. No, I'm serious. That's the reasoning that can occur. Or I might as well get her because she's not. Or you have this animosity. So these stumbling blocks grow over the period of time. And you are the cause of that stumbling block. You are not necessarily the cause of him cheating, but you are definitely the reason that stumbling block is there, and vice versa. Because you refuse to meet the needs of your spouse. And I say this all the time. People don't understand that when you're married, there's a responsibility involved. Now, a lot of people get married because they're in love. Wrong answer. For those who are not married yet, do not get married for the sole reason that you're in love. Do not get married because you love someone, because that love can disappear quickly once you say I do. All right? You want to get married because you've committed. For whatever reason, you've calculated, you've thought about it. And with wisdom, you said, I want to spend my life with that woman. And you ask her to marry you. And she, at that moment, is kind of tricky there. She, at that moment, has to say, I want to spend my life with him. Yes, I do. I accept. Yes. All right. So you get married because of commitment, and there's going to be a component of romantic love. But if you don't sustain the relationship, like anything else, it will die. All right. And the happiness, the peace, the sex, or whatever that he wanted or he expected from you, over a period of time, he's gonna look somewhere else for it. Why would a person keep going back to misery knowing that that's miserable? If I got to deal with misery, I need something to counteract that. Or people might become suicidal. They might become what do you call it? They will become low in spirits, depressed. That's the word I'm looking for. They'll become depressed. And you might have different levels of that depression, and that can cause a world of harm and hurt on themselves in their work environment, in their social environment. Okay? So the bottom line is you want to avoid building those stumbling blocks in front of your spouse. Meet their needs. Yeah, sure, sometimes you don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing all the stuff that I do, but I remember there was a workshop, like at a church that I was going to, where Miles Monroe was talking about. It was like a men's workshop, and he said sometimes you have to do things out of knowledge. In other words, you may need to do something that you don't want to do. You don't feel like doing it, but you do it anyway because it's best for the relationship. For example, a guy goes to opera with his wife. Hey, I don't want to go to an opera, but I'll go because she likes it, and I'll be with her, and that'll be cool. All right? And who knows? You might like it. It might be a new experience for you. But you get my point? Sometimes, like in everything else that you do, sometimes you have to do things even though you don't feel like it. How many of you go to work every morning? Or you go run your business? I don't feel like I want to go home to the beach or whatever. But I got to take care of that business. I got to do this. I got to do that. I have to look out for her. I have to look out for him. You have to prioritize your relationship. If you let your lawn go without taking care of it, you're going to have a bunch of weeds and overgrown grass and all kinds of mess. Then you're going to have animals hiding in there. It's going to be a mess because you didn't take care of it. You didn't nurture it. And the same thing goes with your marriage. If you don't nurture it, it's going to begin to degrade. It's going to go down and down and down. It's going to just dwindle to your emotional connection with each other is going to be gone. And that means romantic love will be gone. And at the whole time, you're just building that stumbling block in front of your spouse. He's going to go to somebody else to get fulfillment and joy. And I'm not saying he's going to cheat. I'm not talking about it's always that, he's going to cheat or she's going to cheat. But he's going to find other things to do besides being with you. She's going to find other things to do besides being with you. So you need to check yourself. Are you meeting the needs of your spouse? There's a book I read called His Needs, Her Needs. Check it out on Amazon. I forget the author. But His Needs, Her Needs. You got to meet the needs of your spouse. You have to know what they are. Do you know the love language of your spouse? Check that out. That's important because you may be loving her per se, but she's not receiving it and vice versa. So it's important that you meet the needs of your spouse to avoid building those stumbling blocks for him. Because if he trips over that stumbling block and let's say commit adultery, he cheats on you. Well, it's not your fault that he cheated because he could have said no. He could have avoided the situation. But over a long period of time, he became weaker and weaker and weaker because you were neglecting him, and neglecting him. Or neglecting her, and neglecting her. You see what I'm saying? So you built that stumbling block for him to trip over in the first place. It's kind of like entrapment. All right? Where if that wasn't there, he wouldn't have had any need. He could have easily said, it would have never even been a thing to build an emotional relationship with that other woman. It wouldn't have been an issue. I got a wife at home. I'm honoring my wife, but my wife isn't honoring me, so maybe I can get some honor and respect over here. Maybe I can get some peace over here. Of course, understanding that peace is only an illusion because the Bible says the bed of an adulteress leads to death. All right? But you're not reasoning that in your mind because you are so affected by the fact that your wife has neglected you and rejected you for decades, for years, until you got to the point where you just don't want to be home. You definitely don't want to be with her. So what do? You find other things to do. And some of those things may be a bad path that you reason is good because at least I'm getting fulfilled over here. So when I go home, I'm okay. All right? All right, so the stumbling block is something that you want to avoid creating for your spouse. It puts stress on him, which indirectly adds stress on you because you're going to respond to what he's doing or what she's doing for the husbands. All right. So you want to ensure that just meet their needs, prioritize them. You got married, you have a relationship. You do it with everything else. Why do people neglect their marriage? You work hard for your job. You work hard for that committee or whatever it is you're at your church. You work hard for your career. You work hard and do all kinds of gymnastics for the children. But when it comes to your spouse, you don't have time. And you wonder why he's staying away from you. You wonder why he doesn't want to talk to you. You wonder why he's staying away from home. You wonder why he sits in the car for a little bit before he comes into the house. How do you treat him? Do you nag him when he comes in the house? Or do you just try to comfort him or just make sure the house is nice? You know? Okay? So avoid those stumbling blocks. Really be sensitive to the needs of your spouse. Be sensitive to the needs of your spouse. Evaluate yourself. How have you treated your spouse over the past 10 years, 20 years? Now, if you're just a newlywed, you got a head start. You can build the positive experiences and adultery-proof your marriage. Why should he go to another woman when you're feeding him? The Bible says, drink water from your own cistern. Don't go to somebody else. So make sure he has water for you to drink, for him to drink. Make sure, husbands, that your wife has water to drink. When I'm saying water, make sure that she can come to you for that emotional connection, and you can go to her for that emotional connection. Otherwise, those emotional connections may be built elsewhere, which puts a strain on the relationship and may be the demise of the relationship. All because you've rejected, you neglected your husband. You've rejected, you neglected your wife, your spouse. Don't do it. All right? All right, I just wanted to bring that as far as the stumbling block as a follow-up to the last video. All right, so my name again is William Cunningham. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and put them in give me your comments. You can go to the website, myhopeandmarriage.com, and fill out a question and contact us or whatever, or ask your question, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay. All right. Well, again, William Cunningham. You can call me Reggie. My Hope and Marriage at myhopeandmarriage.com, and I want you to be blessed. Take care of your spouse. Take care of yourself. God bless you.